With so many new Marvel, MCU, Disney+, Sony verse of Marvel character projects happening, it's hard to focus on one of these topics and to follow the rumor mill for what's happening there. Obviously, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is the next film to release, so there's a lot of excitement there as we're preparing for it to come out a few months from now. However, today we have to focus on Fantastic Four, as there is a leak or a rumor, an insider scoop going around telling us the future plan, the structure of Fantastic Four moving into the MCU. By structure, I mean Marvel's current idea or plan for the 3 Fantastic Four films they're going to be planning. Now, the fact that we'll be getting 3 of them doesn't come as a surprise. Almost every single character or character group has or will be getting at least 3 movies, so no surprise there. But to get the skeletal structure of what they want to do with the Fantastic Four is really exciting. So let's dive into this rumor and find out what the plans are for the Fantastic Four in the future of the MCU. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host Chris, and if you love to stay up to date on all of this news, consider subscribing, turning on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily uploads, and comment down below. Are you more excited for mutants to make their way to the MCU or for the Fantastic Four? Alright, so this is going to get broken down into all 3 movies. They talk about each different movie and the plans that Marvel currently have for the film. I keep saying currently because anything could change at any moment over at Marvel Studios. However, these are supposedly the current plans for the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four will be set after the events of Endgame. Fantastic Four cast will be announced soon and will involve 2 well-known actors, the rest are newcomers. In the first Fantastic Four film, Silver Surfer will be making his debut and will really adapt his presence as close to the comics as possible. The development of the Fantastic Four itself is called the Holy Trilogy because it builds the story of Galactus as the main enemy in the MCU after Thanos for cosmic threats. Galactus' influence will be present in at least 10 films or more. So that's for the first film. The Fantastic Four plan moving forward is to introduce the Fantastic Four. The cast has already been selected according to this and will be announced soon. And on top of that, Silver Surfer will be making his MCU debut and will be very comic accurate. Now that means a few different things. One, we can pretty much figure out what he's going to look like by looking at the comics, and I think Marvel's done a really good job over the years of creating decent live action comic book correlations that do respect to the comics but also don't make them look kind of dorky, if that makes sense. So hopefully we'll get that same kind of feel with Silver Surfer. But it also talks about maybe his personality, his job, his role, and in the comics originally, Silver Surfer works for Galactus as his herald. He's given some of his cosmic energy, some of his cosmic power, and he's sent to go find planets that Galactus can devour in order to survive and eat. You heard me right, Galactus literally eats planets. And it's the Silver Surfer's job to decide which ones he's going to eat. Now, if you're sitting there a little worried thinking, wow, this is all happening so fast, we're going to just jump into the Fantastic Four and then right into the Silver Surfer, right into Galactus, keep in mind this said specifically, Galactus' influence will be present in at least 10 films or more. So they are going to slowly build into Galactus. They're going to take their time. I think Galactus being the big bad, we'll call him, of the MCU, the cosmic threat, doesn't come as much of a surprise to anybody. Thanos was a pretty impressive big bad, and it was going to take something pretty spectacular to top that. We've all been playing some pretty fun guessing games as to who it could be based off of information we've already gotten in Phase 4, and just guessing what Marvel's gonna do. And I think Galactus was in everybody's top 3 of what's probably to come. So Galactus coming down the road doesn't come as a surprise, but hearing that they're going to put his influence in 10 films, that's a lot of films. Thanos was involved in a much smaller number of films before the Infinity War and Endgame movies, and even then he was just name dropped in the movies that he showed up in, like Guardians of the Galaxy, where Drax and Gamora talk about him often. So the lead up to Thanos was more of understanding the prophecy of Thanos, whereas here we're going to have to learn a little bit more about why Galactus wants to eat the planet Earth and what is the ultimate cosmic struggle. Thanos tried to wipe out and eventually did wipe out half of the universe. Galactus eating just the planet Earth isn't as big of a threat, except I guess maybe everybody on Earth dies. So it's not as big of a cosmic threat, but it is a more immediate threat for the planet Earth. So it will be interesting to see how the Eternals get involved, how the mutants get involved, the new Avengers, the young Avengers, so many different groups that along the way are going to show up through Phase 4, 5, and 6 to eventually lead to the first encounter with Galactus in Phase 7. If I had to guess, about that time. There's a lot of building to happen before we can get a super duper mega team up film featuring everybody like we got in Avengers Endgame. The Eternals were only just introduced and they're still very new to viewers. Same with Shang-Chi, the Fantastic Four are going to be new, the mutants are going to be new, we don't even have an Avengers team assembled right now, the young Avengers aren't assembled, the theories and rumors that we're going to be getting the Thunderbolts, those aren't assembled, so there is a lot of groundwork that has to be done before we can start talking about taking on Galactus. But it's really fun that they're going to start teasing him as a Fantastic Four and for 10 films moving forward so that when the time comes, we can be ready. Now, I also mentioned that this leak has information about Fantastic Four 2 and Fantastic Four 3, so let's get into that. Starting with Fantastic Four 2, Doctor Doom will be present in the sequel of Fantastic Four. Now, the wording of this is very particular when it says will be present. I don't know if that means he's going to show up in a post-credit scene and not really be the bad guy of Fantastic Four 2, or if it's just a weird way of wording it. Doctor Doom is personally one of my all-time favorite villains. I would definitely put him in my top 5 favorite villains across all DC, Marvel, pick a universe. He is an absolute thrill to watch or to read or to see what his plans are and how he's going to conquer in his next quest. This also might be around the time we start getting a Battle World storyline, if that's the direction the MCU wants to go, because Doctor Doom is integral to Battle World and runs the entire event or series, and it will be super fun to see how big this character can go in the MCU, which is something exciting about having these characters now involved in the MCU, because when they were just the Fantastic Four or just the X-Men or just Doctor Doom, their power existed within their parameters, but in the MCU they don't have limits. They can become anything to their fullest potential, and I'm really excited to see that take place in the upcoming phases. And for Fantastic Four 3, the big reveal, it says Galactus in the third film of the Fantastic Four. So after we've seen or felt his influence in 10 different films across the phases of the MCU, we will get the first official appearance of Galactus in Fantastic Four. Now, whether that's where the big team-up happens, kind of like Captain America Civil War, or if this is just the introduction and then following that we're going to get a big Super Avengers movie, call it whatever you desire, we'll have to wait and see. Marvel is headed for some crazy rocky road, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but they are going to have some insane organization skills, some awesome writers, and some really good storytelling abilities, because there are a lot of moving parts. Back when it was just the original Avengers, it was Iron Man, Thor, his world, Captain America story, Black Widow story, and you kind of mix and mingled it to create the Avengers. Now we're talking about so many different groups, entities, bad guys, characters, all with very different backgrounds and stories, trying to culminate into one screen and become the Super Marvel super story. Is going to get insanely complicated, so I hope they're able to keep it straight, to make it make sense, and to keep it enjoyable for everybody. Let me know your thought about this Fantastic Four game plan in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching till the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.